How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Danesholme Community Centre. In the event of a fire, they're clearly marked exits, and you go back out through the gate that you came and gather in the area there. And I hope our fabulous front of house team have shown you where the toilets are, etc. The way the evening is going to run, we're going to perform about her. Then there'll be an interval, and again, the team have got drinks, what have you, at the back. Decaf herbal options are available for those of us who don't do caffeine. So, and we've also forgotten the non-dairy milk. Sorry about that. So, you know, you win some, you lose some. Yes, thank you. Beautifully done. Beautifully done. Please turn your phones off so that doesn't happen in the middle of it.
I will now.
Okay, the project that has been going on whilst About Her has been rehearsed is called About Her and About Him. And after the interval, we come back and hear about the About Him part, which is in its infancy. And a lot of the men that are involved in that project are here tonight to watch About Her. They've never seen it. But the idea is that by the end of, probably the end of the year, maybe this time next year, we'll be standing here and you'll be watching About Him. It might take that long, but we welcome your involvement after the interval, because we are in the process of shaping it. I think if most people know my style of theatre, and I recognise the faces in the audience, it's lovely to see so many of you here. Every single word tonight is somebody's story. And this started with interviews in 2010. My niece Emma and I interviewed randomly 20 women in the town and took their stories, and we asked them 12 questions. So what we ended up with was a wonderful collection of stories, and our job then as playwrights was to try and weave it together somehow. So what you'll hear is, first of all, is the introductions from the different women, and then we have woven the stories together as if those women met. They in fact never did meet. Not one of them has met anybody else, but you wouldn't know when you see them all chatting. I'd also like to acknowledge that Kath Arnold is listed in the programme. Sadly, she was unavailable, but luckily, while swimming in the lake on Wednesday, I realised that we had somebody who could stand in. So we nobbled somebody on Wednesday to join in, and she's had, you know, last-minute rehearsals. And that is what I find. Women in Corby who have been involved in this project, and some of you in the audience, there's Lola and Irene who were involved in Women with Steel back in 2006. There's Jackie who's been in plays as well. You know, some of the interviewees are here tonight as well. So that's really interesting. Wonderful audience, and without any further ado, this is About Her.
My granddaughter said to me the other day, "Gran, I want to be buried with you. When I die first, you have to be buried with me." What a thing to say. But see, I was that close to my granny too. I used to love going to Glasgow to visit. She used to fuss me. I needed that. My old mum had too many kids and never had time for fussing us. My gran made me feel special. And I suppose in my own way, I'm doing the same with Kathy. Her mum was poorly when she was a baby, so I looked after her a lot. That's what brought us close. Sometimes when she comes to stay, she turns the telly off and asks to talk. "Let's talk, Gran," she says, "tell me a story." And I do, like my mum told me. Mind you, she was a great storyteller. She loved nothing better than talking. I was only 21 when I realised I'd ever asked for stories. I newlywed tale. My husband took on a ready-made family. Somehow we coped, but then I'd seen my gran. She had 17 kids. Not all of them lived mine. So caring for a big brood is what I've seen, it's what I know. It wasn't all hard work and no play though, especially in the 60s, when there was so much work around. You could walk out a job one day you didn't like and have one the following week. And meeting all these other women put ideas in your head. We all had lots in common, but it got you thinking how things could be different. Who were they all? I've been come to Corby from all over. There was this one woman at work, Gaida she was called, Latvia. Now there's the story, let's hear about her.
The day we fled from the Russians was the last time I saw my favorite teddy. I was 7.5. The Russians are coming, the people said, so like many others, we decided to leave. We packed everything in a wooden tea chest, winter clothes, all our precious belongings, but then lorry arrived. It was full of people, and others were getting in. People only, they said, and hurry. I left my big teddy, the one I got for my 5th birthday, standing next to piano with its paws on the keys. I was heartbroken. All over Baltic states, Latvians, Lithuanians, Estonians were fleeing from the Russian advance, many on foot. In October 1944, we left on the last ship from the harbour. I don't know who was bombing us. But all the windows and everything made of glass on board were smashed by noise and the blast. The town when we left was in flames. We didn't know where we were going. We landed in Poland. Polish families took us in. And me and my stepmother were 4. There were 4.5 months spent most of the time in the cellar because there was nothing but bombing. It was a really bad time. Then we were put on a goods train, which took 15 days to get to Germany. I had my 8th birthday on that train. When we got to Germany, we got put in this school, town on straw mattresses. Me and my stepmother had one to share. She kept pulling blanket over me. Was it to hide me or what? Being nosy, I peeked out the side, and there was this bloke on the next mattress, heavily bleeding. He died there. It was horrible. And still the bombing, all the time bombing, the whole city. I don't know who was bombing us. Eventually, we were put in United Nations camp. Displaced persons camp, they called it. 3, one after another. We had to speak German, because that was the language. With all the moves, we missed out on lots of learning. When we came to England, my math was more forward. Math, art, things like that I could do. Anything that didn't need words. I didn't want to come to England, but I had no choice. We left my dad behind. I came to Corby on my own in 1957 at 20 because I was ready for my own life. There was about 500 Latvians in Corby, my future husband amongst them. I knew of Corby from the Latvian region dance group. I liked well enough. We had a community, a church, and Latvian school on Sunday mornings, and volleyball. I had a feeling that maybe, finally, this displaced person found her place at last.
You see, she's come from further afield. My family only had to come down from Scotland, like many others. There were plenty of Irish women too, like my neighbour Bernadette. Let's hear about her.
It was 1959 when I first visited Corby. I stopped off at my younger brother's wedding on my way back home to Ireland from New York. Talk about round the world for a shortcut. Back home for Christmas, I learned that my elder brother and his intended decided to give Corby a go. What with the promise of so much work and all. But they needed a chaperone. A young woman gone off on her own, alone with a man, and then not yet wed. She would have been the talk of the country. So I joined them and moved to Corby for good the next year. 22 years old with my return ticket in my pocket, just in case it didn't work out. Mary and I took digs in York Road, while Sean found his own nearby. They were wed a month later and quickly got their own house. I got a job in the ribbon factory down St Mark's Road and lived a good part of the size of an Irish community up near St Brendan's. How did I find Corby? I remember the smell of the steelworks. I'd washed New York out of my lungs with the good fresh air in Ireland. and the dirt, having to wipe your washing line 3 times before you could hang the washing out. And then it'd come back with peg marks on it. And the people, not so friendly as now, I can tell you. Everyone was busy fighting in their own corner. So many Scots intent on making little Scotland, and I couldn't understand a word. They said there would be a brood of Aberdonians cackling away in the factory in their own lingo, and I would feel out. But my first hogmanay got that right. I'd never seen anything like it. It was amazing. There was a full moon, the sky was full of stars, frost on the ground twinkling like diamonds. We went first footing from house to house, nips and tatties and steak pie at Mrs. McHaggin's. Everyone's doors open. It was so warm and friendly. That's when I realised my plane ticket would probably never get used at all.
Corby attracted people from all walks of life to a growing town needs more than just steel workers. There were the teachers like Polly. Let's hear about her.
I moved to Corby in 1961 because, in common with other new towns, the housing corporations were offering teachers and other key professionals a house. My husband and I were both teachers, and he had a job at Studful Juniors. Since I was heavily pregnant, we moved into a house on the Exeter estate, rather than wait for a property on Beanfield. My initial impression, I was horrified. It all seemed so raw and ugly. We had come from a lovely old riverside place in Berkshire, and my husband came from rural Wales. I even became a parishioner at St John's Church in the village because it was the only old building I could find. Mind you, I was impressed by the shopping centre. It was lovely. The language was different, being called hen, and the Scottish bread and this and that in the shops. I often felt like a foreigner when I was out shopping. We were clearly outnumbered by the Scots. It was a bit lonely. The accent was very strong and took a while for us to comprehend, but once we started teaching, though, it became quite natural and easy to understand. And I know the accent modified since newcomers were incomprehensible to their classmates. Everyone was friendly, and there were so many different nationalities. It was great. You would meet out shopping or at the clinic, and where we came from, there was an even kind of people. I found so much difference, quite invigorating. Our friends were shocked that we chose Corby. They went to Hemel and Stevenage, where they knew they would find other professionals. I gradually became aware that Corby was a working class town. But to me, I was quite comfy. We stuck out less when we moved to our own house in Glyndebourne Gardens. A new set of professional people getting going together. I was very happy from the word go. There were so many clubs and organisations and a wealth of things to do. Whatever our friends thought, things were clearly on the up and up.
It's true that most people in the town were workers living in specially built rented council houses, but there were a few private housing areas, and not all the staff lived out of town. There was Catherine. Let's hear about her.
I came to Corby in 1971 as a 31-year-old mother of 2 young children. My husband worked in the research department for British Steel. We were living in Rothwell and looking for a house to raise the family in. We wanted somewhere with a reasonable sized garden and a fair amount of space. We had looked in the villages round and about, but you either had to buy the old vicarage, which was quite out of our range, or settle for a new house on a tiny plot. We never intended to live in Corby, but whilst house hunting we found these reasonably priced, quite nicely designed houses with a sense of space right next to the prize-winning Kingswood estate. They were only a 15-minute walk from the school and the church, and we quickly realised that Corby offered us by far the best deal. We were beautifully situated next to Kingswood Nature Reserve, and close enough to go for walks to Great Oakley, and people were much friendlier than they were in Rockwell. Even though I felt like a foreigner at times, so many people spoke in broad Scots, it seemed to me. Though I'd left my full-time job in teaching English to start a family, I was keen to carry on my career. So I had a reciprocal childcare arrangement with my neighbour, which enabled me to teach part-time at the Tech, and I still had one weekly evening class. We kept up our existing friendships with my husband's colleagues and went sailing on Rutland Water. And of course, Edward cycling to work left me with the car. So, although living in Corby was not our original intention, it has served us very well indeed.
Housing was the attraction for many people, especially when they were trying to make a fresh start, like Ada and Lou. Let's hear about them.
I came to Corby in 1975. To escape the violence at home. I'd grown up with it, but when my dad threw my newborn baby across the room, me and my mum decided to leave and walked out. She wasn't prepared to see yet another generation subjected to his violence, and I wasn't prepared to do his bidding and to marry a childhood friend who was just out of prison in order to give my daughter a name. What was wrong with my name? So there I was, homeless, 21, until my cousin phoned from Corby and asked if I'd look after his flat in Canada Square while he went off and worked at the oil rigs. We jumped at the chance. In Yorkshire, I couldn't get a house, but as a homeless mother here in Corby, I was soon offered a 3-bedroom flat above the Wellandale shops in no time. I thought it was wonderful. I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. It was refreshing coming to Corby. No one judged me as a single mum. No name calling here, no one threatening to take my baby away. Everyone accepted you for who you were. I was pregnant from a short-term affair in the army, but I wanted children and thought it'd be okay to be a single working mother, better than a loveless marriage or a marriage of convenience. We fitted right in. I always considered myself to be Aberdonian, having spent lots of time up there with my mum as a child. We used to have a clan gathering every 2 years, and my family from America and from Canada would come over too. So Corby was like home from home.
I came to Corby to escape family violence too. And it was a bit of a culture shock. I wouldn't have actually chose to live here. See, I grew up in quite a posh village, Castle Rise it was called, with a lovely church and a village green. My dad wasn't a very nice man. He was quite abusive. And my mum was having an affair with Roy from 3 doors down. One day, when my brother and I came home from school, my mum turned to us and said, "We're leaving the New Forest, you either come with us or you don't." I was only about 8 or 9. I was on the school netball team, and we had played so well that we was meant to be playing at Wembley that weekend. My first thought was, I can't go now, I'm going to be playing at Wembley. Made no difference. I was given some black bags and, well, I had to leave behind my pets, all my things, all my books. I could only take with me a white Bible, a little brownie camera, and as many clothes as I could fit in that bag. We met Roy halfway up the street, and as we were leaving the village, my mum turned to us and said, "You no longer talk about your father, you no longer talk about the new village. That's the end of this life, you're starting a new one." From then on, it was a complete roller coaster. Mum's best friend was having an affair with my dad, and her children moved into my house and got all my things. We went to stay with my granddad's brother in Kettering until Roy got a job in the steelworks and a house in Corby. But then my father found out where we were and we had to leg it to Folkestone. The last time he saw me, he said, "If I ever see you again, I'll knife you, I'll kill you." So that's the kind of relationship we had.
There's more than one sort of violence to escape from. Over the years, Corby has taken in refugees from wars all over. In the 70s from Chile, Cyprus and Uganda, that added a small Asian community to the mix. One woman was Hindu. Let's hear about her.
I came to England from Kenya to visit my sister in 1977 when I was 22. My husband and I moved to Corby in the year 1978 to visit his parents who had been expelled from Uganda. We had a flat on Cecil Drive for a few months and then we got a new house on Kingswood where we still live. My husband was a welder in Market Harbour. Life was very different. The climate, the language, the customs, it was like being a newborn baby all over again. I had to learn everything from the start. But I remember there used to be a small Hindu community back then in Corby. But we used to travel to Leicester and Wellingborough to visit the temples. Over the years, people have been very supportive in the town and we have celebrated Navaratri and Diwali, the festival of lights. My two daughters have been raised here. Life is very different to them than it was for me growing up. My dad had a shop and I used to help him after my school. And I used to help my mother in cooking and also in looking after the guests. We had African servants who used to help us with cleaning. Government was not supportive, unlike here, so we had to work to survive. Kenyatta was resisting Amin's call to expel Asians from Kenya. If my daughters went to Kenya, they would be strangers. It would be just like how it was for me coming here. But I lived here more years than I lived in Africa. People say there are problems here with drugs, alcohol, and violence, but it doesn't bother me because we are all trying to make our own paths through life. And I think if people have chosen that path, it's up to them.
With the policy at the steelworks not to employ blacks, Eva was a rarity. Let's hear about her.
I came to Corby from London with my husband in 1974 for his job interview. What struck me straight away was all the greenery. It was a lovely sunny day and here we were, visiting a town with these wide open spaces and low houses. It reminded me of Garden Hill in Jamaica where I grew up. I'd been stuck in London for 14 years and had still never got over my first impression of seeing all those grey, high, joined up buildings. At 10 years old, fresh from the fields, trees and space of St Catherine's, it was a real shock. So I was thrilled when he got the engineering job and we got a house in Kingswood, right on the edge of town. And Corby wasn't too far from London. Moving to somewhere where there would be other West Indians wasn't a consideration, but it was kind of nice to see another black face. It never really bothered me because people here are so friendly. The neighbours came round and introduced themselves and offered me sugar. They were really polite. It detracted me from hankering for my own community. Maybe that's because I was brought up anglicised. My aunt taught English and my friends were from all around the world. Some of the speaking that I had to really listen to, I didn't quite catch it and I'm still struggling now. I'm still happy in Corby, but I'm worried that the greenery is being eaten by all this new housing that's sprouting up like mushrooms. And the amount of new people, it's too quick. Soon we'll be a big town with all that bustle. Too busy, too fast. I might have to move back to London. I met a newly arrived Jamaican woman the other day at a church event, and her eyes nearly popped out when I told her I'd been here since 1974. She asked how I was finding the changes, and I told her straight, I think we will lose the community spirit with the rapid growth. I like the differentness of Corby. I went to London recently and I couldn't relax. Fastness and commotion. It was nice to know I was able to come back to Corby. I suppose though, if it gets too fast, I'll just move out into the country. Space to see the sky, no joined up houses, and room to breathe.
Of course, people are still coming to Corby, bringing their stories and experiences with them. Some of them are following their hearts, like Kasia. Let's hear about her.
I came to Corby from Poland a few years ago. I met a Corby man on the internet, and we are to be married very soon. I was working as a carer in Wisbech, and then I left my family, friends' house at 47. I came here. I followed my heart after divorce. I love it here. I love the language and my job at the school. I am a music teacher. Very few people, European people I know, are lucky enough to be working in their profession. I help out at the Polish school on Saturdays. I only wish there were more clubs for the children. In Poland there is more clubs. Here when the parents are working, the children are stuck to the computer with no hobbies. And there is gun versus gun. I hear at the school how the English guys are fighting and the girls have been beaten up because they are different. That is such a shame. We have so much to learn from each other's cultures. I would like to start an international youth group, arts group. That way the children can mix together and grow together.
Well, I didn't come to Corby. I was born in Corby in 1958, and I mean Corby, not Kettering. I was born at home. I grew up on the Exeter. I now live on Hazel Leas, and apart from a couple of years away, I've lived in Corby all my life.
Well, a lot of folk might live in Corby. They're not from Corby. Well, they're from Corby town. I'm from proper Corby. Corby village. I've always lived in the village. My folks had the pub. They're from Weldon, the next village over, but there ain't much difference between us and Weldonites. I mean, the kids from Weldon used to have to walk to Corby village for some of their lessons. They weren't the outsiders. No. The real difference was villageites and Corby town. See, Corby village and Corby town, they didn't used to get on so well years ago. There was a mile between them, and that was the divide. I mean, we kept ourselves to ourselves when the new ones arrived, coming in and upsetting the apple cart, bringing things in, doing things different, trying to take over. Well, they couldn't understand us. We couldn't understand them. I mean, We were saying things that they didn't know. They were saying things that we didn't know. There were a few in the village from the displaced persons camps. Latvians, Poles, Serbians. See, one or two's all right, but there was too many of their mothers too quick. Coming down here with their foreign food and all. Their Scotch bread and their Scotch pies. Yeah, most of them came from Scotland. Glasgow, now they're what we called the Evians, couldn't understand a word they were saying. Mind you, wherever you was born, you all ended up in the same school, so you had to get on. Where was I born? Well, actually born, that would be the displaced persons camp at Brigstock. That's the next village but one. That is only because they had the maternity bit in case there was any problems. I'd never say I was from Brigstock. I'm Corby village. Proud.
Such a mixture of women sharing their stories and learning about life from one another day after day in places women gather, at work, out shopping, playgroup, the school playground, or at the clubs or the bingo. What did we talk about? Anything and everything, just like our mums.
And I think of my mother, no one compares to her. A love like no other, she puts everyone's first. And when I was younger, I treated her the worst. Never known someone stronger, 'cause damn, it must have hurt. I don't see you as much as I used to, but if I didn't know what I could do, I'd tell you I love you a million times, saying I'm sorry if I made you cry. Can never be after woman even if I tried, but I tried, I swear I tried. If someone puts me down, yeah I know my worth. I'll bend to you, lessons that I've learned. If I had to put it into words, I think of me, I know how sweet is her.
My mother was exceptional. Exceptional. She lived with me for about 10 years, on and off. My father was so violent, my mother moved to Corby with me and left him. It was a nice situation because she was so supportive. Even if she thought I was going to make a wrong decision, she would let me do it. And then when I realised it was the wrong decision, she would be supportive again. Although sometimes it was hard, you know, working all day, looking after the kids. She'd turn around and say to me, "Well, you chose to have them." She definitely didn't pander to me. She was supportive without the smothering or taking over. But we never contradicted each other, even if we thought each other's decision was not the best. We'd have a united front in front of the kids would go to bed, and then we'd discuss what we had a disagreement about. I used to look at my mother and my grandmother and my great-grandmother and think, that's what I'm going to look at 40. That's what I'm going to look like at 60. That's what I'm going to look like when I'm 98. We were a strong matriarchal family. I'm hard to push, actually, to remember my uncles, my aunts, couldn't forget them, even if I tried. I came from a long line of Aberdonian women. And do you know, just to give you a bit of facts, Aberdonian women, when they die, on their gravestone, their maiden name is put on it.
Oh, I like that.
My mother always was a strong woman. I can say everything I am now comes from my mother and my grandmother. My mother spent a lot of time with us. There were 3 of us at home, my younger brother and my older sister. Father was working on ships. We had a fantastic chat every evening with my mother when we come back from school. And my mother taught me how to celebrate Sunday and how to prepare for Sunday.
I always felt that my mother never had time to be there for us emotionally. You see, I'm one of 12.
Wow.
So, as a child, I just found things really difficult. I felt lonely and isolated. Even though there was like 9 of us in the house at the time, things were just so hectic and noisy that I learned to just zone out. Just to have my own space, peace and quiet. I can still do that now. It was like a military operation in our house, just making sure everyone was fed, dressed, washed, had their homework done, had the house cleaning, and doing all the vegetables.
Yeah.
We grew our own vegetables because my father's wage, it just wasn't enough to cover us.
Yeah.
But it took all of us to kind of take care of each other.
I wasn't really close to my mother either. She died 5 years ago. There wasn't the sort of warmth that you would expect nowadays. My mother was born to very elderly parents. Her mother was 45 when she was born, which in those days was astonishing. She had an elder sister of 18 and a brother of 15, and she hadn't had that sort of warm relationship. She wasn't cold as such, simply quite businesslike. She'd been to university, which wasn't common, and I think women who went to university then didn't want to be seen too much in a domestic context. That didn't seem to be important to them. But yet she had 4 children. When we were quite young, she started working part-time and we had live-in help.
I was adopted and in care. I traced my real mother when I was 20, but I never met her. I didn't know I was adopted till a few days before my 15th birthday. I came across this big envelope on His Majesty's service. I recognized it, and as what I had carried on the plane to England, being nosy, I looked inside and there was adoption papers. Until up then, my stepmother was the only mother I ever known. When I asked her, she denied it, and I got very confused. But I knew what I read, and I memorized the details, so I knew where my real mother lived. A few years later, somebody I knew was going to Latvia for a holiday. He was going to the town where my real mother lived. He never saw her. But he found out that she still lived there. I started to write her. She wrote back to me. Every letter she said she was in agony with her joints and bones. So I inherited that from her. But she never told me much about giving me away. I heard that story from my cousin. As a girl, my mom was a maid and a servant for a lady. When she was pregnant with me, the boss said she must choose the job or the baby. When I was 2 days old, the lady took her to the station and watched her put me on the train. According to my cousin, my mom went to prison for 6 months for that. Then she went back and worked for the same lady until she retired. Somehow, I was found and taken to the hospital where I spent the first 2 years of my life. The children's specialist there had an aunt who wanted a child. She started coming to hospital and taking me for weekends. I was in a children's home for the next 3 years. Then, when I was 5, I got officially adopted by the family. The doctor ended up as my godmother.
Well, I was very close to my mum. I looked after her from when my dad died when I was 22. She was poorly off and on from when I was in my 30s. I'd go every day, first thing when I had my daughter, and then at night time I used to go and make sure that she got herself to bed, that she had food and drink in case she woke up, that her tablets were sorted out and ready. She had breast cancer, and then she got diabetes, and well, then the dementia set in. Yeah, she was 75 when she had the cancer, but the doctors, they agreed to, they tried one of them new tablets instead of putting her through the chemo. So, but I remember when she was really poorly, I'd spend most of my time with her.
Sad. Would you like a cup of tea at my house?
To have a man in my children's life. I didn't want to risk exposing them to that level of violence and that violent behaviour. I still can't get to grips with the fact that my mother and grandmother, both such strong women, hadn't been able to assert themselves with their menfolk. I could understand my grandmother because in her days, you just didn't talk back to the menfolk, did you? It wasn't the way things were done. But my mother, she was incredibly strong and she protected us. She took the brunt of everything. She tried to leave him once, but she had nowhere to go with 4 children. My 2 elder sisters, they ended up going to separate homes, and then they persuaded to take me and my little one, my younger sister, back to my dad's with her. Some support her. It seemed acceptable just to beat your wife. So having lived with that, I decided to keep my relationships completely separate from my children. I would never take men home. That was the only way I felt like I could break the cycle.
Do you know, I get that. My husband would have had his marching orders long before if it hadn't been for the kids. I knew after 2 years that he was no good. He liked his women. He disappeared one week and left me and our 2 children with nothing at all.
Oh.
I couldn't feed us, so I had to swallow my pride and go to the DHSS. My parents had always provided for the 10 of us, so it wasn't in my nature to accept handouts. But you know, when he turned up the following week as if nothing had happened at all, I finally snapped. I knew he was putting it about. I thought moving here might change him. But leopards don't change their spots. So do you know what I did? I paid his fare back to London. The money I'd been given for food. And I never looked back. Good riddance to old rubbish, I say. And I was okay in my own space. I'm quite happy to be in small company.
Looking after kids by yourself, it isn't easy, is it?
No, it's not. I knew better off. I knew I'd be better off without him. And it's a question, isn't it, about self-worth. The weird thing is, at 16, I actually decided that I'd never let a man treat me bad. I was never one for the kitchen. Tidy house and the ironing, I'm okay with that. But cooking, never got on. My mum was trying to teach me to cook one day, and she'd say, your husband's going to beat you if you can't cook. Well, I got to thinking. And the next time, I tell her I'd made up my mind. Mum, I said, I'm not going to get married. I'm going to eat in restaurants.
Well, my husband of 40 years died 10 years ago. We were both part of Latvian community, which made a very strong bond.
Oh, that's the same in my community too. Oh, how wonderful it is to share same beliefs and values. I moved to England to visit my sister. That's when I got introduced to my husband. And my families liked the match. We got engaged immediately. And afterwards we got married. Well, good or bad, happy or not, we wouldn't consider a divorce. Of course, nowadays that's different. I always said to my daughters, if they ever want to get married, either we choose or if they fall in love with someone, I think it's their personal choice ultimately. But how it turned out to be, my younger daughter got engaged recently.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Her fiance is from the same religion and same caste, and we're sure he's going to take care of her, so all good.
Well, a mutual friend of our mother's introduced my husband and I to each other. This was a thing I resisted. I thought, I'm not going to be married off to somebody just because somebody else thinks it's a convenience. It did feel rather ridiculous to me. But they had chosen well. We were engaged after a year, and then it was another year before we were married. We have many shared interests, particularly music. And we've just celebrated 39 years together.
Oh. Well, my husband's wonderful. Not only did he take on a ready-made family when my mum died, but he's been there for me all these years. My granddaughter said to me the other week, Gran, when I grow up, I want to find a good man like you, and I want to stay with him forever. I don't want to chop and change.
I'm currently in a monogamous relationship and have been for 13 years now.
Okay. Do tell.
Well, I was about 36 and I fell in love with a woman. I came out as a lesbian when I was about 38. A lot of people had already worked it out. My mother, my grandmother, my aunts. They weren't the least surprised. They'd all known since I was about 8. What a secret to keep from me. They were more surprised that I had 2 children and hadn't come out for so long. I had an affair with a woman when I was in the army. I was about 20 then. And being openly gay in those days meant you'd be dishonourably discharged. Yet my corporal, captain and sergeant were all lesbians. That stuff really messes with your head. Anyway, it all went horribly wrong. And I went into a lot of denial after that. And it wasn't an issue for years for me because I didn't know any lesbians. So I just kept being busy being a mother and everything. But deep down, I always knew I wouldn't be happy with a man. I never enjoyed being with men. You know, I slept with them because I wanted children and I didn't see any other way. Anyway, I've got 2 wonderful children and 3 wonderful grandchildren. And I'm happily sharing my life now with Eloise, and, you know, we were made for each other.
Soulmates. I believe everyone has one. I know I found mine. We're like peas in a pod. If one of us is down, the other's up. One cooks, the other cleans. I know, too perfect to be true. Like rebuilding a house. I knocked the walls down, she did the decorating. We're thinking of getting hitched when we're 65. We fancied Rockingham Castle, but it might be a bit close for comfort if we're still in the closet. Well, mind you, hopefully by 2020, 2 women declaring their love on lifetime commitment to each other won't raise an eyebrow.
Yeah.
Shopping for women is the toughest experience a man will ever have because we do not understand your stuff, okay? We don't understand your clothes. First of all, women don't buy clothes. Too easy to buy clothes. Women buy outfits. But every occasion, a woman has an outfit, okay? And there's some kind of secret competition going on. That is the same time, the same place, the same outfit. There's going to be trouble. See, that ain't the plot, man. If we show up dressed the same, you feel we got it right. So we try to buy you clothes, like you got the size. The size of the number. We don't understand it. We don't
Well, we grew up just after the war and we dressed in whatever came our way. I don't think people honestly bothered about it that much. Though I do remember all 4 of us girls were wearing grey woolen overcoats at school, and because they were quite expensive, we had to wear them in the holidays as well, and it looked ridiculous, all 4 of us wearing the same. I desperately wanted to have something different from my sisters.
I had to wear what was too small for my sister. One day, when I started to be a teenager, not everything was good for me because I was taller than my sister. I recall some jumpers were okay, but not everything, because my arms are just longer than my sister's. Sometimes, of course, I was told I have to wear this jumper, even though the sleeves are not too good, because it was about money.
Yeah.
My mother all the time explained to us that she can buy some things for us, but not everything, because she wants to be with us. She don't want to go to work, so we had to suffer as well. She didn't want us to make us guilty. She just explained it was her choice to give us a lot of warmth and happiness and love. It is much more important than a jumper.
Surely the little children wear other children's cast-offs. They grow out of them so quickly.
That was normal in our family.
Anyone ever wear the wrong thing? My biggest fashion hit was my grandmother's fault. I blame her. Whoever said that generation was shy can think again. I was attending my sister's wedding and turned up in my army uniform as requested, since my cousin was going in his navy uniform. I had no time to shop for an outfit for the reception, so I asked my mum to do it. She gave Gran the job. So she bought a white lacy see-through catsuit. They were all the rage at the time. However, leaving the reception that I realised how revealing it was. When I went outside and I stopped, traffic lit. Even the policeman came over and went, "Get inside quick, you're causing mayhem." So with that and the neon lights at the nightclub and all of that, I can safely say, with my white underwear on, I firmly was in the public eye all night.
Oh my God. Talk about wearing the wrong thing in the wrong place. So, me and my friend had been to the hairdressers, right? And we both had like this skinhead haircut that went totally wrong. It was supposed to be longer, but it's ended up shorter. Usual thing. You take a photograph in and you're like, "I like it like this, please." And you come out and you got to go somewhere else and have it recut. Well, anyway, we went on holiday to Margate, right? And we went out this particular night. We had these Brutus shirts that were really in at the time. We had the stay pressed trousers. Yeah. Well, we nearly got bashed up because they thought we were skinheads. Yeah. So like the mods and the rockers and that sort were down there at the time. So yeah, nearly got our heads kicked in. Bit iffy that was. Never had that haircut again. As soon as we could, we let that one grow out. Oh dear, and as for the makeup, oh God, you had like, there was like this blue eyeshadow and this pearl white stuff, and then this stick of mascara.
Oh yes.
Right,
yes.
you had to like spit on, get a little brush to it, hope for the best. Oh my God, and this rouge. Oh, this rouge, it never went anywhere. Just stayed right there, no matter how much you're moving your cheek from. No, sorry. I mean, I never bothered with the red lipstick, I'll just say that. And my mum used to laugh when she saw me. And then my dad used to look at me and he'd be like, "Oh, you look like a bloody clown."
That's what my daughter said to me when she was 12. After that, she always did my makeup and chose my outfits. I was never really good at ensemble. My mum used to make clothes for me when I was younger. Hot pants, knickerbockers, outfits, matching waistcoats, anything that was in fashion. She even made me a cowboy suit. And my aunt worked in a dress factory, so we used to get things from there. I even was a mod with the long boots, the mac, the short kill, the shoes. After the army, I sort of became a bit of a hippie, so I didn't wear any for 10 years.
I'm not a shoe person. We used to have our best shoes to wear for Sunday school, or if we went out and in the week, you had your school shoes, right? And if you played out, you had your other shoes. When I started earning money, I'd always get like a fairly flat heel as well. You go through it in a couple of months, but there's no end of shoe shops in Corby.
It's true. Well, and shoe shop rows, I bet. I remember whatever shoes I wanted, my mum would disagree. She always wanted the sensible ones. I wanted what was in fashion. I used to try and get my granny to take me because I could wind around my little finger. Mind you, my mum bought me one pair, I'll never forget them, red shiny patent. They were horrible. I hated them. I used to scuff them all the time. Hope we should replace them. No chance.
I never had the shoe debate with my daughter. I was terribly lucky when Felicity was a teenager during the Doc Martin years. She would wear them with everything, with shorts almost. Sometimes in summer I'd say, wouldn't it be nice to wear some sandals? No. Dr. Martens with everything, and that was absolutely brilliant. That was all she wanted. They were good for your feet, they were comfortable, all purpose. It was marvellous.
I honestly can't remember going shopping with my mum. Not for clothes or anything. We just didn't have that kind of bond. But she didn't teach us to make our own clothes.
I made this one dress. I really loved it when I was a teenager. It was gorgeous, but very short. My mum, she saw me wearing it once, skirt up here and shoes, no shoes on. She worried what people would think. Well, I had some leftover fabric, so I made a pair of knickers. So it wasn't too indiscreet.
Excellent. Don't talk about knickers. I love knickers. I used to have hundreds of pairs of them. I worked in an underwear factory, so we get them cheap. Had them in all the colours of the rainbow. Lovely fabrics. Frilly, lacing, and even see-through. Never had much money for fancy clothes, but I didn't care. I knew it was underneath. Lovely, fancy, clean knickers. I changed them 2 or 3 times a day. I just loved them. And I took great care of them. I'd wash them and I'd dry them on top of the boiler so that my brothers wouldn't see them.
Not do that.
And when I went to visit my granny in Glasgow, she went to peg them in the line. Oh my goodness, she was horrified. She wore seriously big pants and wanted me to wear the same. Mind you, when I see that wee bit of dental floss my granddaughter wears nowadays, I never know what my granddaughter. Yeah. And as for boobs, oh, don't get me started. There she was the other week. They were hanging out. And our granddad said, for goodness sake, cover yourself up, girl. I don't care what they're showing. Oh, it's a fashion, isn't it? That's okay at the moment. Me, I bought myself a new dress in my 20s. Lovely it was. A low back, high at the front though. And my husband says, you're not going out in that. At least we don't have to cover up like them Arab women, do we?
Yeah, but we've got all the pressures of the magazines and the models telling us what to wear, what to show, how to dress.
That's true.
I mean, I think my Charlene is an absolutely beautiful girl, but she just doesn't have the confidence about her body. She thinks she's ugly.
Oh, no.
See, my daughter, she was attractive, always like slim, didn't have any problems with food or anything like that, and was confident. But my granddaughter, Jess, she's had problems with eating, with trying to stay slim. She's had the pressures on her to be skinny. And I think it's more difficult now because there's so much more emphasis on trying to have the right look all the time.
Yeah.
I went to quite a lot of trouble to try and make my Felicity feel happy with herself and how she looked. I thought it was important that she felt she looked nice.
Yeah, I agree.
My mother do this for me. She hasn't any education, but she tried to read a lot of newspapers, and she was finding out from newspapers how to talk to teenagers, how to grow them up. Every time I have a question about my body, how I had to wear, I wasn't scared to go to my mother about it. And what she told me is, Kasia, just be yourself. And if you want to wear something, just look in the mirror twice. And if you feel good and you feel comfy, that's okay. So over time, I try to be myself, and if somebody doesn't like it, okay, I'm just me. If somebody like me and what I'm wearing, fantastic, but if not,
Yeah. I'm not sure peer pressure was such a big thing when I was a child. A lot of the children at my school were clergy daughters, mostly on bursaries. 1 or 2 of the girls had some quite expensive clothes, and I think we slightly scorned them.
okay.
Well, I have a diploma in dress design. Manage the clothes store in London. So between us, we can sort you out.
How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a mirror
My mum was always at home. She did the housework. That's how it was in the village. Blokes worked, women kept house. On set days, they did set work. Mondays was wash day. Always Mondays, wash day all round. Everybody in the street did their washing on a Monday. We had a twin tub. We were quite well off, I suppose, but the one next door, she had a boiler. Had to put all our washing through the mangle. Ooh. Yeah, the women did the cleaning throughout the week. My mum was house proud. They were all particular. Every day there'd be a set room that they'd clean. They did baking on a Thursday and Friday, ready for the weekend. On Friday, early in the mornings, about 5 or 6, you'd go down to Morrison's the butcher's. You'd be queuing outside to get the meat ready, nice and fresh for Sunday. I mean, me, I tried to keep house, but got a bit lazy about it in the last few years. I mean, before, when I was cleaning my mum's house as well, I'd have set days because, like, I had to get everything done, but not anymore. If it doesn't get done Monday, it'll get done Tuesday. And if it doesn't get done Tuesday, it'll get done before the end of the week. I don't know, I just don't have all the rules that she did.
Well, I believe in the old adage, a place for everything and everything in its place. I can remember my own children saying, Dad, our house is not like so-and-so's. She has dirty washing lying all over the bedroom floor. When I was working full-time, I had a cleaner. Her job was to clean though, not to tidy. And I could say to the children, she's coming in today, so if you don't put your things away, you won't know where to find them. So that was an inducement for them to put their things where they belonged. She left when Felicity was in 6th form. So I paid Felicity to do the cleaning, an excellent arrangement, because since I was paying her, I could tell her when she wasn't doing it properly. She actually learnt a lot in that time because she wanted the money. Now, as a young working mother herself, she has a cleaner. It's just a sensible thing, really, so long as it's financially viable. If you can earn enough to pay someone else, there's always people wanting work. It's nothing new. When we were small, we had someone living in, a girl from the local orphanage, poor thing, and she lived with us for about 7 years. She was very much part of the family, although she wasn't treated entirely as such. I must say that she had her meals in the kitchen and we didn't. In retrospect, it's hard to imagine, but that's what people expected in those days.
When I was married with my husband, he helped me a lot. It wasn't like, you are a woman, so you have to do this because this is woman's job. No, it's good when man help woman. They can spend time together, even in the kitchen. When woman and man can do something together, it's fantastic time. Instead of just sitting on the sofa, watching telly, doing nothing.
Well, I'd put my foot down and get him to help out around the house too. If I was working and he wasn't, then why should he get away with that, eh?
One woman at work, her husband was ex-army. He used to help me with the housework. They shared all the chores. I thought he was a big sissy. My dad taught us real men never lifted a finger. That was women's work. I realise now I was a fool to listen to.
Yeah.
When Edward retired several years earlier than me, people used to say, does he have a meal ready for you? And I didn't want that. Cooking is what I like to do when I get home.
My mum used to get so carried away writing or chatting that she never had my dad's tea ready when he came in. She'd leap up in a panic and quickly chop up an onion and put it in the pan. So when he walked through the door, this was this delicious smell of his dinner cooking. And then she'd keep on talking while she got the rest of it together. I don't think he ever cottoned on, but it was far from being ready. and I'd always give a hand with hoovering.
Hoovering? Don't talk to me about hoovering. My mum used to make me go up and down the front room carpet in precise straight lines, and when I got to the end, I had to pick the hoover up again, turn it round and start again, just so I wouldn't miss a speck of dirt.
Wow.
There wasn't any cut at any corners. She was very particular about cleaning, still is. She used to brasso the door knocker, woe betide, the postman if he touched it. But my mum, she didn't have very much, so valued what she did have. And keeping everything in order was her way of keeping her life in order.
That's fair.
You know, I don't really bother much with housework these days. I've got more interesting things to do. So see you later.
Okay, see you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Yep. People used to really judge you on the state of your housework. You could be an awful person, but as long as you've got your white nappies on the line, then you're fine.
I used to put my nappies on to go on and then go off to work. It's true, you're right about what people thought of you. You never have dirt your necks in your windows. My mum once borrowed a carpet from a neighbour for the front room so she could impress my boyfriend.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it was really embarrassing because the next time he came round it wasn't there. I'm not really bothered too much about housework. I mean, apart from washing and cooking, I hardly do anything. Obviously I clean the bathroom twice a day and I run the hoover around every day. I used to be really house proud, and when it was my time of the month, I'd go off like a demon.
Okay.
Yeah, cleaning the inside of drawers, everything. I even boiled the toothbrushes one day.
What?
And when I went to get them, they'd all boiled to nothing. And I didn't want to buy more till Friday. So,
Oh dear.
Hello everyone. Tonight's the last session and we're going to discuss how arts and education has been part of our lives. So, Kasia, would you like to start?
Yeah.
Thank you.
When I was a child, many times my parents invited other couple and they sang around table. They play on instruments, made folk songs. This music made big impression. I thought it was natural. So I learned to play piano. I should have gone to music school, but my parents, they told me, no, you will be without us in the city. But music was all the time inside. And I wrote a lot of books and poems. And at 18, I wanted to be an actress. But I had no luck. But I never forget my dream. So many years later, when my daughter was born, I tried this actress academy again. I was married at the time and husband doesn't agree with me. It's like film story. Everything was ready. I attended private lessons with some actor from Szczecin. And I went secret a few times to Warsaw. And they told me, Kasia, you are ready to get this exam. So this day I just ran from him. But he catch me on the train station. He said, your place is in the house. You have to be with your child. You have to be at home for me. No way to be an actress. To meet all people which are drinking and dancing and having fun. No way. When this last chance was disappearing, I decided to do something and music came again. So when I was older and stood up to him, I get to be a student at the music academy. I was 33 and I did it.
Well done.
At my graduate exam, I conducted a big orchestra and a big choir. My daughter, who was 18, she was so proud of me.
Lovely.
Well, words were my mum's passion. She would add words to her stories, fabricate, embroider, weave a new tale. And I'd be spellbound thinking, she's made that bit up, but I still loved it. My Portuguese friend said her mum did the same. Added bits, made bits up. And with my mum, we'd all sit listening, get housework, and then at 9:30 on the dot, she'd jump up and say, quick, before your dad comes in, we better get the place cleaned up. And we'd all run around the house, getting it straight before my dad came in. She loved words. Sometimes she'd go off in the world of her own, writing poetry to my dad. She was a real romantic. She'd forget to put the dinner on. She'd say, Maura, does this rhyme? I thought, get the dinner on, never mind rhyming. And a puzzle away she was till she finished her verse.
Oh. My mum played piano like Mrs. Mills. Yes. I played like an idiot. I can't even play chopsticks now, though I went lessons for about 8 years and I did 7 exams. Yeah, I did the theory work and everything. Yeah. My piano teacher used to live on Oakley Road. She was a mate of my mum's and she taught quite a lot in the village. I had to go all the way to Leicester for my exams though.
Yeah.
My stepmother played piano as well.
Oh, great.
We had a lovely grand piano which stayed behind when we left Latvia.
Oh.
The first time I went back to Latvia, I went to this great big song festival. When I was younger, music, especially singing, was a very important part of keeping your culture alive.
Oh yeah. We also ran South Asian dance and music groups for years to keep our communities together, share our culture and, celebrate lives.
Oh, wonderful.
One of my first visits to Corby was to dance at a function at the restaurant above the old Corby Corp store.
Oh, I used to love dancing. 4 times a week we used to go to discos around here. It'd be like 70s disco music, but I also did old time, Latin American, and ballroom. Yeah. I had lessons up at the Crow's Nest and in the church hall. There used to be a man and his wife come down twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays.
Okay.
And yes, I had a regular dancing partner too. But I was younger than he was. So we had to stop when he turned 18 because he went up to the adults.
No. I was part of regional Latvian dance group and mixed choir.
Oh, fantastic.
I joined choir in Wisbech to meet people and I also give concerts.
I've always sung in choirs too. I attended a chamber choir in Kettering when we first moved here, and I sing in the church. I played the recorder from a very early age and viola when I was older. My husband is a musician, so we used to play music with the neighbours.
When I met my husband in an orchestra, I played violin and cello at the same time.
How things have changed. My mother was one of the first women to go to university in this country. She'd read English at Leeds, and we all had a higher education. We thought it was just the normal way of things that things happened. I categorically did not want to copy my mother. I kept telling my parents I want to do medicine. I had a wonderful English teacher. I admired her intellectually, and I wanted her to think well of me. She helped me decide what I really wanted to do. So, in the end, I read English at York, which is what my mother did.
When I was a child, I had a severe balance problem, and I was told when I left school that basically I'd be lucky if I got a job as a reserve for the disabled people at the factory.
Really?
No one expected anything from me, and I didn't think I was intelligent. But once the kids were grown up, I went to adult education and I did a computer course, and I loved learning. So I went on to do my O-levels and my A-levels, and then at the age of 40, I became a qualified social worker. I never dreamt that would happen, because I just didn't think I was intelligent. You are. Old messages from childhood. I know lots of women though that don't get to do the study or learning or anything that they want to do because of various reasons. One of them being perhaps money.
Yeah.
Money was very, very tight when we were small. Again, you've got to remember it was the post-war years, and I think many, many people struggled. My parents did manage to send us to boarding school, which wouldn't be a priority nowadays, I don't think. But remember, according to how well you did in the 11 plus, remember that. Plus, you were given your first, second or third choice of school. My mother said they wanted to ensure that all 4 of us attended the same school and avoid the secondary modern. So boarding school was our only option. School fees were nothing like what people are paying nowadays, and the teachers were terribly hard up. I know my mother sold her piano because she hadn't got the money to pay the cleaner. Nowadays, you would probably go without the cleaner rather than the piano.
Yes.
I think it's all a question of expectations.
Well, no one expected me to get an education, but I dived in at the deep end when I was 31 and went to college as a mature student. You know, it's never too late to learn, is it?
No.
The thing is, I also had expectations for my girls too. I wanted them to go to a decent school, have a good level of education, and end up being in a good place. But my eldest girl, Samantha, moved away to the big city as soon as she could. But she's been around the world a couple of times on a ship. Wow. Anyway, seeing as this is our last writing session, do you fancy coming back to mine later?
Yes.
I'll make some Jamaican patties and some saltfish and ackee.
That
sounds good. Wine?
Yeah, bring some wine.
Yes, I am there.
Bring some nibbles.
telling me about today.
What was your granddaughter telling you about?
She had the science lesson and they were talking about the facts of life and how to do it. Ooh. I think when I was younger I learned it from, I don't know, the animals and my pets, you know, how they did it. No one ever explained it to me.
I went to a Catholic school. We didn't learn anything about sex.
No.
Really? Yes, seriously. The facts of life were told to us by our older sister. But she had huge gaps in her, like, education.
Oh dear.
And then we learned from our brother, he would tell us exploits about his thing and everything. And we'd sit there and we'd listen to his stories and we're just like completely shocked and in horror, but wanting to know all the details because we didn't know anything.
Of course, yeah.
And the worst thing you could be called was a virgin, wasn't it?
Right, yes.
Even though we all were.
Uh-huh.
I mean, people used to say, you've got 5 minutes to live, what are you going to do? And they'd be like, oh, I don't know, boil an egg? I'd be like, no, I'm going to go out to the street and I'm going to jump the first man I see, just so I do not die a virgin. But really, I'll tell you what I actually longed for. It was just to lie skin to skin with someone. That just seemed like the most beautiful thing in the world to me.
My mother told me in a really embarrassed way, and at school we only learned about rabbits. I learnt about sex from reading Lady Chatterley's Lover, which had just been unbanned. That was lucky. It was being passed around between the girls at boarding school.
I got it from an Irish woman at work.
That was me.
Sure, I forgot that. It was you, wasn't it? I had to send to America for it.
Well, they said in Ireland, if they had translated it in Gaelic, then we'd all know the Irish language.
People would think it tame by today's standards, but I can remember the excitement of being a wee bit every night. I hid it under my mattress. Just my luck, my dad decided to turn the mattresses over. My mum was spring cleaning. Oh, going from work, it was on top of the bed. I thought, I'm going to get flunked here. Did you know he never said a word? I think he read it himself.
Probably. Have you noticed how many young single mothers there are in Corby? Attitudes have definitely changed. About 30 years ago, people were still quite judgmental. My father refused to recognise my niece's baby, which she had when she was 16 or 17. She wasn't married, but she specifically wanted the baby. My sister stayed calm and helped her a lot, but my father could never accept it. He is a clergyman now. About 5 years later, I noticed a shift in sexual morality as an English teacher in school. I was trying to teach the play Measure for Measure to sixth formers. Isabella is asked to sleep with the Duke in order to save her brother's life. Those girls could not understand why she refused to sleep with them. She's only got to sleep with him and her brother's life could be saved. They couldn't understand that for her, it was a question of morality.
Morality varies, though. And life doesn't work out as you plan it. I wanted 10 kids. I didn't want the marriage, though. I didn't see my life with men. I'm an independent woman.
Are you drunk already?
Yes. And both of my children were pill babies. The first from a short-term affair. And the other was, well, yeah, from a married man. Well, I had the fun of having a companionship without all of the, commitment. Plus, it was a bit of excitement. Oh, wow. I think it helped his marriage too, though. Us mistresses get a bad name.
Bad name.
Of course, the prize was sex. I never really liked it with a man.
Oh,
I do.
I would have had children. I chose to be a single mum. The dad's never been involved. One doesn't know and the other never want to meet them. I didn't need anybody else. I wanted to concentrate on my children and myself and not on the other adults.
Yeah.
It didn't pan out how I thought, though, because the support isn't there for young single mothers, and it still isn't.
No.
But I didn't want to be in a loveless marriage. or a marriage of convenience.
Well,
Okay.
And I've seen plenty of those.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, I've got a bit of family history. Because, you know, my grandma, she was told she could get married. So she got pregnant on purpose.
No.
Yeah. She had my auntie and my mum was on the way out before they got married, they let them marry. And my aunts, they all had babies before they were married. And my mum was pregnant with me before she got married.
Oh,
So of
no.
course, by the time it came to me, there wasn't any sort of taboo about it.
That's all right.
well, each to their own, I say. Thinking about the business of actually having babies, there are so many choices now. Whereas during the 70s, the whole business of giving birth became very much like a production line. It was all very unnatural. Felicity was induced 5 days early. They used a high blood pressure reading as the excuse. They induced babies so they didn't have to have lots of birth to cope with at weekends.
Well, when I had my first baby, it was a right cold winter's night. And my husband didn't believe me. He said, it's too early, so he went away on the night shift. Anyway, my sister-in-law went and called Dr. Carol to come over. He came to a party and had a wee drink. More than a wee drink, I think. I was up in the bedroom, they came up, he said, right, Morag, bottoms up.
Bottoms up.
Bottoms up. I thought, that's strange. Bear in mind, I'd never had an internal. So I knelt in the bed, I felt so undignified. Pulled my nightie up, it was just this silence. Then he said, never mind, Morag, and he walked out the door. I was so naive and ready to have a baby. Anyway, the ambulance came, took me to Kettering, and when I got there, this big, horrible nurse said, where's your razor blades? I said, razor blades? You don't expect us to supply you with razor blades? I didn't even know what she was talking about.
What? You didn't know you had to shave?
No, I didn't.
Shave?
Yeah, I thought that was just for
Shave
men.
your bits.
Anyway, in the end, Kettering wouldn't take me. I had to go to the bar at Northampton. I had no family, I was on my own. Nobody cars then. It was horrible, your first baby on your own. And when I got there, they said I wasn't in labour. Anyway, I was nagging, so I pulled the bell. And they rushed me to the delivery room. I had the baby, and I felt fantastic afterwards. So much so I asked the nurse to go to my bag and get a Mars bar outfit. And I ate it in the labour ward. Oh, disgusting, but never mind. Yeah.
Well, I felt awful after mine. I was in labour for hours, had no pain relief, but that was nothing compared to my gran. My mum came out feet first,
Oh, no.
and it was really difficult birth. As for maternal instinct, aren't women just meant to know what to do?
Goodness, no. When Felicity was born, it was necessary to transfer new mothers to the Corby maternity unit for 5 days. Recuperation to learn how to wash and feed your child. It was a bit of a culture shock. I was at the advanced age of 29, which was considered terribly old.
Yeah.
Most of the girls were only 16 or 17. I remember finding it extremely difficult to understand what the nurses were saying because they spoke in broad Scots. I really felt as if I was on a foreign holiday.
Well, you're drunk already.
I was
Stop that.
frightfully embarrassed at having to ask them to repeat things. They thought I was a real nuisance wanting to breastfeed. As soon as any problems arose, they'd say, oh, we'll give the baby a bottle. That's what they wanted you to do. I gave in after 6 weeks.
Well, I was the second woman to give birth in the maternity unit.
Wow.
We missed being the first and consequently missed the pram that the Evening Telegraph was giving away to the firstborn by just a couple of hours. I remember there being plenty of staff and how beautifully arranged everything was, and those new cellular cotton blankets on the beds and cots. Really nice.
I was the last woman to give birth in the maternity unit before it closed. It was utter chaos. A pipe burst, there was steam everywhere. It was like giving birth in a sauna.
Well, when my second second daughter, Katie, was born, the nurse realised she was Down syndrome and called the paediatrician. Apart from that, there was no support at all. The health visitor just told me to get on with it. I was left with all my fears and wonderings. It was a neighbour who put me in touch with another woman who had a daughter with a disability, and she took me to Forest Gate School and explained what I could apply for. It was jumping in at the deep end, sink or swim. I considered going back to London, where at least I would have help. But then I decided to look for what was good here and stick with it. So my life revolves around being Katie's full-time carer.
I was at Rose's birth. My granddaughter, she was beautiful. Watching a baby being born and knowing it's part of you, I haven't got the words to explain. When I was in labour, it was horrific. I was on all these drugs and I weren't really there for it. But being at my granddaughter, you don't want to see them in pain, but I was at the right end because you can see it.
Yeah.
And it was miraculous. I was so astounded. The whole thing, just watching this beautiful baby.
Miraculous, beautiful baby.
My grandmother told me, Kasia, remember one thing. Never ever show a man, any man, your bum. She's not talking about my bum, obviously, okay? But just don't show your man what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you are. Keep something to yourself. My grandmother told me as well that man is head, but woman is neck. So head is moving only because of the neck. and it is not just in family. Man is head. In work too. And the world. There we are, neck. Because on our shoulders is everything. Family, then community. Community, then country. On our shoulders is everything. Stolat!
Cheers!
Salute!
Cheers!
Sandra.
Respect!
Cheers! Anand ho!
How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is